So in this video, we'll try to look at strategy backtesting. So first we'll understand what is strategy backtesting. Then we'll see what are the benefits. And then we'll have a look at two tools, DeFi Labs and Reward Finance, which helps us do backtesting of our strategies. So in the last video, we saw that liquidity providers can choose a strategy based on their current situation and based on their goals, right? So on the left, we saw strategies which had less risk, which had less risk, right? On the right, you had more risk, but there were more upsides, right? So like on the leftmost, you can hold on to the stable coins. You can hold on to two different assets in 50-50 ratio, which provides a bit more upside, right? But like also a bit more risk exposure. Similarly, you can hold on to one type of asset, like which is 100%, right? More risk exposure, but could be more upside in case the asset prices rises. Then you can choose to provide liquidity over a wider range, because in that case you are making money. You're using your assets to work for you. You get fees earned from the swaps and all, right? And with the wider range, your exposure to impermanent loss is less, but it's also considers that your capital efficiency is also less as compared to providing over a narrower range, which is the next strategy. But with the narrower range, your capital efficiency is more, but your risk exposure is also more because you're more exposed to impermanent loss. Similarly, providing liquidity over volatile assets, you make a lot more fees because most of these pools, they have 1% as the fee, but they also have a lot more exposure, uh, a lot more impermanent loss exposure. So let's see what are the benefits of the backtesting, like strategy backtesting. So backtesting is basically you first choose a strategy which you want to deploy, and then you test that strategy towards the past data, right? The past data could be for 30 days or it could be for 60 days or so. So that allows you to make an informed decision because you can clearly see that what amount of APY, what would your percentage APY would have been, right? You can optimize for your returns if you feel you could have gone ahead with a narrower range and you could have more APY. In those cases, you can optimize more for the returns and all, or you could mitigate your risk, right? Because in case you see there's a lot of price fluctuations and all, maybe you go ahead with a wider uh, with a wider range. In that case, you are minimizing your risk, right? Or and it also helps you to understand market dynamics, right? You can see how exactly is the market moving, or like how exactly the price of one token changes corresponding to other. Again, all of these helps you make a very informed decision so that you're not surprised by the results. So let's look at both these tools, DeFi Labs and Reward Finance, and try to perform backtesting on a couple of use cases. So DeFi Labs is a free tool that allows us to backtest our strategy. So go to defi-lab.xyz, click on Uniswap V3 simulator, and from here left, first select the pool which you want. So by default, ETH USDC pool is selected, and then you can select base token. You can change the base token by toggling this. And then you can select the amount that you want to deposit, maybe $10,000, and here you see the current price of ETH with the base as USDC. And then you can choose the various strategies which you want to see, right? So here is like strategy 1 is a narrower range, strategy 2 is a bit wider range, unbounded is like you're depositing liquidity over the entire range, which is V2. And then you can see you can hold on to 50% of both the assets, or you can hold on to 100% ETH or 100% USDC. And if you scroll below here, you can see those strategies. This tells you what were the daily prices. You can see like how exactly they were fluctuating, whether they were falling in the range or so. So if you see here, like sometimes the price was not on the V1 strategy. In that case, your liquidity wouldn't have been used when the price was going out of this range here, or like for this range, right? But if you're going for the wider one, strategy 2, there are some instances in which case your liquidity won't be used because the price would have gone out of your range, right? So if you see here in these cases, so you can clearly see like these tools helps very like a lot in analyzing that which strategy you should go for, like a wider or narrower and all, right? And then you can also test like what would have been the daily fees for each of these strategies, right? Which one makes more and all. And here it shows you the fee ROI, the APR, the asset value, how it would have appreciated or depreciated and all. The total returns, right? The total returns you see here is like 4.4% in case of strategy one. Strategy two is the wider one, right? It could be less. Like again, strategy three, like maybe you lose money because of impermanent loss and all, right? And then you can see what is the USDC collected, each collector, total fee in USDC and all. And here you can see the backtesting confidence also. And here you can also compare these strategies, that what are like, how does it compare. So strategy one versus holding on to 50-50, right? So here you can see strategy one is definitely good. But if you say that you want to hold on to 100% ETH, right, with it good, so 100% ETH is here, right? Again, strategy one is good. So if you go to holding on to 100% USDC, so here, like in some cases, it would have been better to hold on to USDC, like in these cases, but the same like by depositing over a longer duration, you have seen like here, it would have been benefit if you would have been deploying by strategy one. Again, you can test this with strategy two also, and so on. And you can also see like the total LP returns and all. So as you see, like you can make very informed decisions based on which pools you should deploy the liquidity to. So let's test one more pool here. So we'll take like Polygon as the chain, and we can take Matic and ETH. Uh, so here you can see how much investment in Matic you want to add. Like suppose again 10,000 Matic you wanted to add. So you can see the total returns and all like exactly in the same way, right? So if you see total returns in this case, right, in the previous case we saw like was around 4%, but here like the total returns are quite less. In fact, in strategy 2 you would have in permanent loss, right, if you deploy. So here you can also see like what the price movements and all would have been there, right? And you see in the previous case, the price went up, down, and then it came in the same range. But here there is a bit more price fluctuation. It has not come back to the original position. Means there would have been more exposure to impermanent loss in this case. And again, you can see the liquidity density, where exactly the liquidity is more concentrated and all. And again, all of these two like these matrices and all, that what is the fee ROI, APR and all for each of these strategies and all, right? And you can again test these strategies, like strategy one versus holding 50-50, right? And if you see holding on to the ETH would have been better, so holding on to ETH, at least it would have been profitable here, right, versus the strategy one, right? So as you have seen, like back testing helps a lot making a very informed decision that which strategy you should choose, right? Whether you should provide narrow range, whether you should hold on to your assets, or provide over a longer, like a wider range, and which type of a pool you should use. Let's look at second great tool which allows us to backtest our strategies. So to backtest a strategy, first go on to create position. You actually don't need to create a position, right? But you can get started, backtest your strategy, and you can choose whether you want to create it from the reward finance or whether you want to just go to Uniswap and create your position from there. So choose the network. Again, protocol is Uniswap v3. Assets. So I select the base asset as USDC and ETH here. This would pull the pool information based on the total amount that's logged based on the everyday volume. You can decide which pool you want to backtest against. So in this case, you see here like the reserves for the last 30 days. You can see the volume. This is much more as compared to any other. So I'll just go ahead with this and try to backtest the strategy on this pool. Right. Again, you can choose any other pool which you want to. So here you can try to change the min and the max price. If you try to go ahead with the this min and the max side, you can see if the price like decreases of ETH, it, it's going to be out of this range, right? Like it went. You can see here, like maybe for around 50% of the time, if you go ahead with this range, like in the past, your liquidity would have been just used for around 50% of the time. Now I'll try to decrease the min price here, and And now you can see that we can ensure, at least based on the past data, right? We can't ensure the future, but at least based on the past data, we can now ensure that whatever liquidity we have provided, that had remained like 100% in the range, right? So based on these educated guesses, you can see what should be, what can be your min and the max range, right? And how much amount you want to deposit. So I'll just say that I'll select USDC, and then I'll take 10,000 as the amount, maybe. And then you can try to run the backtester, and you can try to choose against which strategy you want to backtest, right? So it is trying to backtest against holding assets. It does take a few seconds to fetch all the data, but the user experience is really nice. The UX is really nice. It makes it very easy to understand all the details and all. So here you can see your APR versus holding on to the assets, right? It's much more 48.46% better for depositing, right? You can see the profit and loss, again, like much more profitable to add liquidity in this case. And you can also see how much fees would you have earned in USD. Yeah, so here you can see like you can make a much more informed decision by back testing the strategies, and you can also guess in certain cases when your impermanent loss could have been there. You can try to see like why would it have been there, in what cases, in what price ranges you will have more impermanent loss and all, or in what cases you can expect more profit. So I hope that these tools would be very helpful. I personally try to use these tools before creating any position, and it has proved very helpful for me. And again, it is up to you whether you want to create your position from Revert Finance or whether you want to create it from Uniswap. I personally just use the Uniswap interface to create my positions, but Revert Finance has a couple of more features. That means you can auto compound your fees and add it to the liquidity, which helps you collect more fees. Right. So again, it is your decision what you want to use. I personally use the Uniswap website to provide liquidity.